Good morning, everybody. We are grateful to have you today for our session 2, Crafting Winning Bids in a Digital Age. My name is Jessica Velasco, and with Janine, we are volunteers here in SCORE, and we have the privilege to have with us Jessie Lovato, Paula Kramer, and Sarah Ortiz from Apex Accelerators, who are gonna help us today with our webinar. Now, before we start, we want you to keep in mind the mission of SCORE. Our passion is to help small businesses and entrepreneurs grow. So we accompany them from concept stage to exit stage to grow and succeed with their business. We provide free mentoring. Our mentors are experts who have owned or operated their own business in many industries. Therefore, they have great experience to coach you. And we also provide local webinars and workshops, such as the one you're attending today. And we have recordings online if you want to check them again in your own time. On top of that, we offer library of online resources. We want to help you with templates, checklists, blogs, videos that can support that education that you're seeking in order to support your business. Now, if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about SCORE, you can scan this QR code. You can visit our website, www.score.org, and you can find the resources we already mentioned and more recording of our webinars there. So now we want to give the time to our experts. I'll stop sharing my screen, and the time is for Paula, who will start this webinar.
Thank you, Jessica. And Janine, we're so grateful to be here today and be invited to present here to everyone from the Apex Accelerators. We will be going over winning bids, proposals in the digital age, which I'm sure everybody's excited to hear about on how AI is being used by the government. So with me today is Sarah, who's going to be running the slides, and Jessie Lovato, who is going to be presenting on the AI. So we have an awful lot of slides today, so I'm going to hit on them as quickly as we can so that we can get to the AI portion. And you will be provided a copy of the slides. So as far as taking notes and stuff, know that you're going to have those slides available to you for yourself to use. So next slide. Very quickly, this is what we're going to be going over: who we are, the types of federal solicitations, federal purchasing thresholds, and the level of difficulty for you to understand. So when you're making a bid, no bid, this is important for you to have. Solicitation offers and the award forms, what's in a solicitation, know your proposal volumes, what do you put in a proposal, writing a proposal, submitting it, common pitfalls, and best practices. So next slide. This is who we are. We were formerly PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We moved our name and a new platform and look about 2 years ago. We provide government contracting services to small businesses at no cost. We now fall under the Office of Small Business Program. And for Utah, we are under the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunities. Our mission is to help, Apex Accelerate is to bring businesses into the government industrial base. Next slide. This is what we look like here in the state of Utah. Our director is Chuck Spence. And as you can see, we have regional directors based on the geographic area. Next slide. If you're not in the state of Utah, you can go to this website and you can type in your state and it will give you your Apex contacts there. So this is a great slide for you to go to on finding your Apex Accelerator group for your state. Next. We want to give a plug real quick here. We have upcoming events. We're going to have our annual vendor fair and matchmaking event on October 16th. If you're interested in any more of this information on the symposium, please reach back to us. Next slide. Here's a list of the services we provide. We do one-on-one counseling. We help with registration with the BEAST SAM and getting your UEI and cage code required for federal. And also it's replacing the DSBS system that SBA has for putting your profile, what you do, your capability statement in there. We can help you with the small business search. We also do certifications in socioeconomic programs, such as the 8A program, women-owned business, service disabled veterans. I think there are about 5 of them. We have a bid match system that'll help you. We create a bid match profile for your company so that it searches for those opportunities that you would be interested in bidding on. GSA schedule assistance, that's just a fancy word for a large contract, long-term contract with the DoD agencies that the prices have already been set, kind of like eBay, but we call it eBuy, or did I say that backwards? We help with market research, finding out who's buying what you sell. That's the secret sauce, if you will. Capability statements, which is just your company resume on a piece of paper that you can use to go out and market yourself with. Proposal writing assistance and post-award support, such as wide area workflow on how you submit an invoice or any other provisions or clauses that are in your contract that you may need some clarification on. We do a lot of training. We have Gavology webinars where we give you a coupon code so that all of those are available to you at no cost. We do outreach events where you can network and do matchmaking with the various defense contractors or the agencies out there. And then again, our annual symposium. Next slide. From around the room, what does it take to win a proposal? We're going to answer that. And what does it take to lose a proposal? What you may overlook that may cause you to lose that proposal. Next slide. Here's the types of federal solicitations. You've heard of these acronyms, I'm sure. IFB, invitation for bid. That is not negotiable. You're just determined to be a responsive, responsible contractor, and they only evaluate price alone. Now, responsive and responsible means responsive is you've responded to the solicitation and given them everything that they need that they've requested. Responsible means they're looking at that information you've given them to determine whether or not you can answer the mail. You can deliver on what they're asking you to provide. Request for quotes is the next one. It is negotiable. And again, you're determined responsive and responsible. They're usually not very complex. They're smaller dollars, but you'll probably still see them asking for a technical proposal, past performance, and your experience. A request for proposal on RFP is also negotiable. And again, they evaluate for responsive, responsible. It could be much more complex, larger dollars. And again, they're looking for your technical approach, your past performance, and on past performance, similar type work on past performance, and then your experience. A source of sought is sometimes confused with being a solicitation. And basically what it is the government's going out there, they have a requirement coming down the pipe, and they're doing market research. You responding to that source of sought is you can have influence on responding to it. By responding to determine whether or not they're going to set it aside or go unrestricted or put it in one of the socioeconomic categories. A request for information in an industry D is a larger request for market research. This chart right here, I really encourage everybody. This is a fun chart, but it's a real quick summary of how the federal purchasing thresholds and a level of difficult. Each stage requires a different level of time, experience, expense, and the level of readiness. This is a great chart for you to make that bid, no bid decision for your company. So if you start at the very top, it's talking about above 700,000. They are negotiated acquisitions, or they could be sealed bid. And the threshold requirements with subcontracting plans in them, where as a prime, you're going to need to have a subcontracting plan that usually entails and slides over into those socioeconomic categories. $250,000 is the simplified threshold for small businesses. It can be full and open competition or other full open competition unless small business has demonstrated that they can perform that. And that's where this rule of two comes in, and you have that influence. The $25,000 must be advertised. Anything over that must be advertised with a few exceptions in sam.gov under the contracting opportunities. 15,000 to 25,000, that goes to the public place where they can go out and possibly market them on marketplace where they do a lot of auctioning. The micro purchase threshold, broad agency and are tied to micro purchases as well. And they do have people in the government that have purchase cards, and they can make purchases at those thresholds. And sole source is allowed for small business set-asides, and SAP is not, which is the small acquisition procedures, is not mandatory. So this is a great chart for you to refer back to as you get familiar with government contracting. Next slide. Here's the forms that are offered, solicitations are offered under and awarded under. Now, different agencies like to use different forms, but they basically have the same information on them. That standard form, and you can click on these links in your, and it will take you to those forms. But if you'll notice, every one of these forms is either the solicitation or offer, and it becomes the award document, with the exception of standard form 30, which is an amendment to the solicitation, changing something in it that you need to acknowledge. You should get in the habit of, when you submit an offer, to also acknowledge, sign, and date the amendments that come with it. If it's a solicitation, you have an amendment, you submit your offer without the amendment, it could cause you to not be considered responsive because you've not acknowledged there's a change to the scope of work or performance statement or delivery. It could be any of those. If it's if a standard form 30 is issued after the contract award, it's going to be a modification to your contract. And usually that modification, you and the government are going to discuss it and you negotiate to make that change to the contract. So these are all of the forms, and they're all available to you by clicking on that link. Next slide. What is in a solicitation? It's a draft contract with proposal instructions and evaluation criteria mingled into it. So in there, usually there are some times where they'll come out without it being on the form. There's always the exception in federal contracting. So there's always a however or provided, so that you need to always stay on top of these solicitations. The sections that are critical, the first page is that standard form 33. That's where the contracting officer is either going to do a single signature on that, or both parties' signatures will appear on them. Yours appears on it when you're submitting your bid or proposal, and then the contracting officer signs, and you now have a successful contract. So if you do not sign and date your solicitation, those are grounds of excluding you for award. Very, very important. So all of these sections tells you the solicitation number, what the supplies are, your pricing. Section C is very important because that's your statement of work or your performance work statement. That's what you're going to deliver. So on the contract, you need to understand exactly what the government's asking for. A tip is that statement of work. Do not assume there's anything in there that you're supposed to do. If it is not in writing, you bid on what they're asking for, no more, no less. Because you don't want to outbid, you don't want to assume something and find out, guess what, you weren't in the zone of consideration price-wise. So if you have any questions, there'll be a way of you asking a question in writing to determine whether or not the scope of work or performance work statement includes a statement of work. The government's telling you how to do the job. Performance work statement is this is what we want it to do. They're not going to tell you how to do your job. You're going to tell them how you're going to do it in your technical proposal. So all of these sections, section H, I've highlighted in red those that are critical. Special contract requirements, which could be unique provisions or terms and conditions to maybe that particular agency or to that procurement. Section L and M are going to be your proposal preparation instructions. And those instructions are going to be right down to the details. We'll go into it a little bit more. Number of pages, the font size, when it's due, and it has to be there on that time. If it comes in a minute later, they can exclude you. Then section M is the evaluation criteria that parallels with section M on telling you how they're going to review and evaluate the criteria you submitted. They're not always, like I said, structured this way, but they're going to basically have the same information that that agency has used that's going to include instructions and evaluation criteria. If that's not in there, you're not looking at a request for proposal. It's not a request for proposal. It's more inclined to be a sources sought, just asking you to submit what is out there in the industry that can satisfy their requirement. And you won't get a response back to a sources sought. Next slide. A proposal is clearly explains to you how you will do what you're proposing, what you bring to the table, define the features and benefits that you have, and proof and experience that you reduces the government's risk. Every proposal should address the definitive solution to the problem. Do not paraphrase or rephrase. If there's things that you need to repeat because of the way they've asked for the information in section L, don't refer them back to that section. Don't give them a link to where they're going to find it. Make their job in evaluating simple and sweet so that they're drawn to, hey, you're making my job easy. So illustrate understanding. You need to illustrate that you are understanding what the government problem is and what you're going to submit that is going to solve and be the solution. Have a specific approach on how you will be doing the work. Think through the steps and the processes in your system and provide them that. So when they walk away, they understand that you know what you're doing. You might want to have base features or benefits, especially when this is a evaluation criteria is not just based on the lowest technically acceptable proposal. It could be a best value. It could be you're going to convince them why you should be buying a Cadillac instead of a Chevy. What are the benefits to them? So think that through and then provide the proof to validate your claims. Present your costs, which will support your approach. That could be a best value rather than doing just lowest bid. Next chart. know the proposal volumes. And again, this is how you become that winning proposal. They understand that you know what you're doing. So it's going to be the technical solution and the approach expressed in section L and called out. It could be having sub-factors. You're going to have factors, possibly sub-factors. So be ready to include that. And these are usually more complex, but not necessarily on, they still want to be able to say, yeah, this company knows and has the experience to do what we're asking for. They may ask for your management volume, which is the work, the technical solution on who you're going to be, how you're going to manage and oversee it for cost controls. Past performance volume, you want to stay what's relevant experience. Now I have to give a plug right here for AI, because here's where you possibly can use AI on tying it so it appears relevant to the reader. So that's a good place to maybe consider your past performance. Cost volume is what the government will pay you to perform your solution. And be really careful here, because if it's FOB destination, you include those costs. If it's FOB origin, you get to bill it separately. Next chart. Here's the proposal development. So I've included in this chart the instructions that you'll see in section L. And it's basically telling you a cover sheet, the form, and all the amendments have to be signed, the volumes and representatives offers of the volume for past performance and the volume for cost. And cost will always be separate than the technical evaluation. I want to note that every proposal will have a section L or equivalent. The proposal instructions will be outlined, and that will get and give them exactly what you're going to be giving them, exactly what they want to ensure you're in compliance. So keep in mind that you know, we always ask you to mark every page with your company name and the proposal, so that if they say they only are asking in this example, they're asking for technical proposal is factor 1, past performance is factor 2. You can have 30 pages in your technical approach. Say you submit a proposal and it's got 31 pages or 35, they're going to take page 31 through 35 and pull them out. They will not evaluate anything beyond 30 pages. So just be aware of that. The same thing on your past performance. It's even telling you like the megabytes, how big they can be. So follow all of those instructions to the T. So next slide. Here's your proposal content. It's going to be a cover page. You're going to provide the solicitation with the point of contact. You're going to provide your cage code and information that identifies you. One of the things listed on 2.1 says proposal is valid up to 120 days for the date of your first submission. That means they can have up to 120 days to evaluate the proposals. If it has a date there, be careful. This is, again, one of the things that they can throw you out on. If you come back and take exception to the 120 days and say 90 days or 140 days, then you become non-responsive and may not be accepted. Most likely you won't be accepted. So it's going to go in, and I just listed the management plan, what you should have in it, your sub-factors, your staffing plan. And again, I think these are things that I believe when we get into the AI, you're going to see how this can have an input, because you can submit your entire solicitation so that it can do the prompts. And Jesse's going to talk about that to you later on. So next slide. This is what you do put in your proposal: continued evaluation. Make sure that you pay attention to the attachments that are required. They have valuable information, and we're going to show you, talk to you about how you can take each one of these sections and put them into the a compliance matrix so that you make sure you're not missing some of the data that you need to address. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. These are going to be for you to read more thoroughly down the road. Your technical evaluation definitions. If this is some of the criteria, sometimes they use colors. Sometimes they use what we have here. This is more inclined to be what it's going to be. It could be go, no go, but they're going to rate you based on when you address certain things as these are your strengths, here's your weaknesses, and significant weaknesses and deficiencies. Now, they are not required to come back and ask for additional information from you and hold discussions, but they may. But I would never submit a bid or a proposal. You have to assume that they're not going to ask for additional information and come back to you. But if they do, I want to point out that if they do come back and ask for additional information or negotiate, they have to do it with every responsible bidder. They can't just ask you. They have to ask whatever might be the weaknesses in other responsible bidders. So just know that if they're coming back and asking you for additional information, they're doing it with all of the accepted offers. Next slide. Read the entire, here's organizing your response. Read the entire RFP, conduct a quick glance review. Maybe have somebody else in your company take a look at it with eyes that haven't been working on it. Attachments have valuable information. You have to have a clear understanding of the requirement. Review the clauses so that because your name's going to go on it and you are ultimately responsible for delivering. Follow the submission instructions and make sure you get it in there timely. Again, consider the evaluation criteria in assessing your bid, no bid. Every company should have upfront a generic bid, no bid criteria, even when you're considering whether or not you're going to invest the time in answering a proposal. Things to consider: is it competitive? Can you be competitive with your pricing and your technical approach? Meet the requirements during the time that they've asked for. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 30 days, 60 days. Make sure you can do that in the time that they require it. Next slide.
Paula, just to interrupt really quick, you're about at your 30-minute mark.
Okay, let's see. We are. Okay, evaluate the requirements that are in section M. I'm just going to leave it at that. Just make sure that what happens when you return your proposal, the evaluation criteria, usually they follow section M. So raters, if you can envision, they're going to have section L, section M in your scope of work, and the rating criteria. And always make sure to present in the order that the evaluator can review it. Make their jobs easy. Have that little bit of influence, like, oh, heck, they really know what they're doing. They've outlined this exactly the way I have to read it and evaluate it. Okay, next. Here's the ratings that you may get: outstanding or good. I think the next one goes to the lower, very relevant, relevant, somewhat relevant, not relevant. So when you go back and you ask to be debriefed, which you're going to do, you have 72 hours to do it in, or 3 days. Go back and ask for a debrief so you can find out what you did, where your weaknesses were, so you can fix them for the next time. If you're the awardee, go back and do the same thing. Find out what they liked about your proposal so you can continue and build on that. So these are good things for you to remember so that you invested that time. Go back and get the biggest bang you can for it by asking for a debrief. Now, this is strictly federal, keep in mind. Okay, next slide. Here's how this is kind of the last one I really want to do details on it is how do you get thrown out? You can lose by having the lowest bid, but you can be thrown out for not being compliant. So you didn't answer what they wanted, even though your price was the lowest price. You can be thrown out for being non-compliant because of the page count, the font, and missing requirement information. You are not thrown out if they don't like your input. That isn't not why you'd be thrown out. You'd still be find your proposal favorable. In this case, you would receive lower evaluation scores or points. Know the difference between compliance. That's really important. That's go to the next one. Yeah. Again, it's the following. Create yourself a matrix. And again, AI can help you with this. And I went over that a little bit earlier. And make sure as you go through it, you're monitoring amendments in the solicitation that may be posted so that you can be working right on a proposal only to find out they made a significant change and you got to go back and change your approach and what you're submitting. Next slide. Here's what a compliance matrix looks like. Here's your section L, M, the performance work statement or the scope of work, any special terms and conditions in section H. Here's your page count you're going to track on included or excluded page counts, limits, and your proposal outline so that you know you're hitting on all of those targets. Next slide. Use every word in section L and M. Don't summarize. Match each requirement to the evaluation criteria. Insert the performance work statement if and where applicable. Insert other. Create your master outline in the matrix to ensure all requirements are gathered. Next slide. This one here this is how you can make your life a little bit easier. You can go in and do searches in the document itself. Now remember that the government will, contractor shall. So do searches on those words to find out which ones I probably need to address and how I'm going to do it. So that is one of the big keys on even doing your bid, no bid decision. So I think I've hit on the critical things there. We're trying to make sure we give you enough time on the AI portion. A quick glance review. Here's a list of what they are. I can't tell you how many times a solicitation had to be tossed out because they didn't have the NAIC codes in their SAM profile. So make sure on the solicitation that you're bidding on that NAICS code is in your profile, because a competitor is going to come back and they're going to, all of a sudden there's no friends out there and they could throw you out just based on that. Go to the site visits. Make sure it's a set-aside type that you qualify for, the project size, period of performance. The place of performance could be at your plant or it could be at the government. So make sure you've factored all of that in. Next slide. Leveraging, you can come to Apex. We are and SCORE both are very good at helping you and go answer and respond to a solicitation. But please allow enough time and meetings for us to work to be able to help you and assist you the best we can. Leverage other contractors and potential teaming partners as well. Next slide. Provide all the documents in their prescribed format. Your pricing, again, the person looking at pricing is not going to be the same person that's looking at your technical approach. So make sure that you've divided up your and following the format they've asked for. Labor categories and associated hours. This is important if you have an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, so that you can go back and maybe base year, it was this price, and they come in with a new wage determination. If you've got all your categories and your associated paperwork for those hours, you can go back in and make it much easier to go in and ask for an equitable adjustment. Is its format correctly? These are final reviews. Is your bid organized and easy to follow? Solution plausible? Demonstrate your ability to perform, proposing a reasonable price. Next. The submission is crucial. Test your online access several days prior to the submission date. Verify the email size, restraints to the sender. Many a bidder has put hours and hours and hours into the proposal only to miss that closure date. So this is very, very important. And prepare a receipt for submission form. It could be you just use your email, and there's usually a feature on there that allows you to see that they accepted it. But I would also include in my email to them, please acknowledge receipt, so they can come back and tell you they got it and they got it in time. Next slide. These are common pitfalls. I've put these slides in for you to just go back and refer to them and find out what kind of things that have happened to other contractors. Don't oversell yourself. Stick to the things that supports the RFP. So these are there for you to look back on. Okay, so this one, and I think the next one, best practices, go to the next one. The one I want to point out to you is limitation on subcontracting. Dictates how a prime contractor may subcontract. If it's a service, 50% has to be performed by the prime. Supplies, 50%. A non-manufacturer rule, if you're getting into that, it's a little different. Construction, 85%. If it's specialty trades, it's 75%, and that's governed by your NAIC code. And similarly situated, say it's a set aside for service disabled vet, and you've got a subcontractor who's the same, that will add value to you, because now you're going to satisfy those limitations on subcontracting. Debrief, here's the rule: 3 days, always win or lose. Go back and get a debrief. And the last one shows you the timelines for you to protest. And this has to do with the size standard of your competitor, because they're going to give you a notice of who the apparent low bidder is. That's when you get to go in and make that decision. After award, it's 10 days. Next slide. Again, this is just telling you math errors. I'm going to tell you on math errors, unit price prevails. So say there's 10 items, you bid it at 5, but when you calculated the total, it was off by $10. They'll go back to the unit price as prevailing. Don't wait till the last minute. This is just kind of repeating things from earlier. And obtain delivery receipts, screenshot a confirmation page, email delivery receipts, and hand carried, which you aren't going to see very often anymore. Next slide. Best practice, this one here I got from a contractor, a company that does government contracting, and I really like this one because I know everybody likes to market, and sometimes you can't tell the difference between marketing and submitting your technical approach. It's basically stop telling your story and start telling the story that RFP is requesting you to. So kind of wrap your head around that, and I think it'll help you to know what you need to submit for a winning bid. Next. These are some of the procurement. Oh, this is okay. I'm going to leave this to Jesse. And from here, you can talk to this, and then the rest of your this is the new systems that have been coming into play in the last few years. And so these are things you need to be aware of. So thanks, Jesse.
You bet. Thanks, Paula. Lots of good information there. And so we'll talk a little bit how we are going to incorporate AI into preparing our proposals. So this slide here This is introducing the PIEE or PI, Procurement Integrated Enterprise Environment, which is a system that is used by DoD. It's a hub that interfaces with many different programs, and it's an all-inclusive style system. Some of those include the wide area workflow for invoicing receipts. There's SPURS that's going to give us information on past performance and electronic data interchange. Award distribution, modifications, different things like that. So just an idea of an all-inclusive system that's currently being used. I think that if we anticipate what's to come next, we'll probably see that similarly from other departments and agencies as well. Next slide, please. All right, so let's shift gears and we'll go into digital age, changing landscape, and AI proposals. We've just learned a whole lot from Paula. Let's learn how we apply the AI portion of it. So first things first, this is the information as we know it today. I think that everybody's had enough exposure to AI that you know that it is changing quickly, rapidly. Every day we're seeing something new. So this is what we know today. It may be different tomorrow. So you are going to have to stay up to date on current developments to make sure that you're remaining compliant with those. So let's talk about what it is and what it is not. Next slide. All right. Now, we use the term AI, and it's a very broad term. We know that AI could be as large as a platform that we just introduced with PIEE, or it could be generative AI. So as we're talking today, we're mostly referring to generative AI, and those are those large language models that learn from us. So some examples that we've been using as Apex accelerators are Gemini. We use ChatGPT, and we use the offshoot of ChatGPT from Gavology called SAMI. We've utilized Grok, Claude, Perplexity, just to name a few, but there are platforms being created every day, so there are a lot of different options. I am not suggesting any one particular platform or software to use. Just know that there are many out there, and you want to tailor what you're using to fit your business needs. So these are high, powerful tools. They help us quickly move through these proposals. They help us brainstorm, get gears moving and whatnot, but we are working in a highly regulated marketplace. So strict attention to security, compliance, and ethical use. So to wrap it up, what it is it's a valuable addition to your toolkit to work alongside your other resources. Next slide. All right, so what it is not, and I think that this is very important to know that what it does, but what it is not. First of all, it's not magic. It depends entirely on the instructions and the data that it receives. So if we are to feed the information in inaccurately, or if it has gaps, what will return to us is similar. So we need to make sure that the instructions that we're providing to this tool are clear and concise. It's not a human replacement either. Okay, so it's going to speed up our processes, but it still is going to require expert oversight or company oversight, whoever that expert in charge is. And the example here says to align with mission goals and strategic priorities, but that's not the only reason why we want some human oversight. Well, it could be involving rules and regulations as well. It could be just checking for accuracy. Which brings me to my next point of it's not always correct. Now, in the world of generative AI, it can produce hallucinations, are what they're called. Basically just bad information, and it can present it to us and continue to present it to us as if it is accurate information. It may look accurate. It may be presented to us in a manner that sounds accurate, but it is not always correct. So again, not a human replacement. We do need to go back through and double check all of the information that these tools are providing to us. And it is not fully secure by default. Okay, depending on if you're working on a open server, private server, where you're at internet, location-wise, the information that you're feeding into it, it is learning from. So if somebody else has had access to the server, maybe it's a computer at the library, something to that extent, these models could be trained inaccurately, okay? So you want to make sure that if you're not working on a secure server, that you're taking that into consideration. You're not putting any of your personal or proprietary information in, and understanding that if you are working on an unsecured server, you could be exposing data and violating FAR or DFAR security requirements. So we'll want to keep that in mind as well. Next slide, please. All right, so our growing role in GovCon, how are we using this in government contracting? Well, it's being utilized in two different ways. We've got government agency use in addition to the contractor ourselves using it. So some of the ways that government agencies are utilizing these generative AI tools is with RFP drafting. They know the project, they know the scope, and they may be plugging this information in to help, again, brainstorm, get the gears turning of the RFP drafting process. They may be utilizing it for market research summarization. So as they go out and they do their market research on different vendors or contractors that they're looking to use, they may be summarizing this using an AI tool. Competitor analysis and differentiation. If they have two competitors coming in that seem pretty even, they may run this through to find out what the differentiators are, to pick through these proposals or the information provided to find out what is standing apart. How is one company standing apart from another as a differentiator? And also pipeline and opportunity tracking. So where are we at in the cycle of from conception to award or completion of project? Where are we at? Is it in RFP phase? Is the project being worked on? Is the project completed? So they may be using this as a tool just for tracking purposes as well. Of course, there's many other examples on there. We'll go to the next slide and take a look at contractor use. So again, many options of how it can be used. Of course, this is not an all-inclusive list. There's many different ways that AI can be used. Again, this is generative AI for the most part, but opportunity prospecting and bid matching. Now, if you're working with an Apex accelerator, and depending on your location, you may have a bid matching program provided to you already. But if you don't, AI does have the ability to scour bid boards, and based on the parameters and the prompt that you enter into this tool, it can assist with bid matching, finding those opportunities for you. Just like we've talked earlier, proposal drafting and compliance checks, this is a lot of where we're seeing our clients use these AI tools most. And proposal drafting it's turning out to be an amazing tool for it, but we have noticed limitations, and we've noticed different ways of using these tools as providing different results. So if we're talking proposal drafting, we want to make sure that we are uploading the entire proposal. Now, the entire RFP. Now, I'm not talking about the response that you've put together, because the response that you've put together, of course, we wouldn't want to upload all of that information. And we're talking about the RFP that we've found. We want to feed that entire thing into our generative AI platform and ask for it to be analyzed. Now, why I say the entire thing is because in a couple of slides, we're going to talk about different sections. But if we feed this in individual section by section, there may be a different section that is being referenced that's not being analyzed by the AI tool. All right, we can also utilize these for content gap identifications. If there are any gaps within that proposal, that might be something that we want to address during the Q&A period, or it might be something that we want to utilize as strategy moving forward. Another option that we're seeing use from is agency prioritization based on spending forecasts. Okay, as we go out and we are marketing to our agencies, if they're not buying what we're selling, we're wasting our time. So as agencies put out their forecasted acquisition, we're able to utilize AI to scour those as well to find who's buying what we're selling, and we can target our market to that specific agency. Next slide, please. All right, so as we break it down, we'll talk specifically about a couple sections, but if this can be applied in all sections of your RFP. Again, you want it to analyze your RFP as one single document before you start breaking these apart. But for example, here, section L is where the government tells you exactly how to format and submit your proposal. So if you fail to follow this section, you could have it rejected before you even start. So what I've done here is I've given some examples and some AI prompts based on these. Now, I wouldn't suggest these as copy and paste style prompts. You're going to want to tailor your prompt for your business, for that particular RFP and whatnot. But some examples, we'll go for first pass narrative drafts. The AI prompt example, using the technical approach section requirements in this excerpt from section L, draft a first pass narrative for a company that provides IT help desk support to federal agencies, emphasizing cybersecurity compliance, quick response times, and tier 1 through 3 escalation procedures. So you can see how detailed that prompt is. Now the prompt is going to go in and it is going to analyze section L, but it has already analyzed the RFP as a whole. So it will reference back anything needed at that point. Now you can be more specific and make sure that you drive that home with your prompt. Something along the lines of ensure that you review the entire RFP for anything else that could apply. So just some examples of prompting, but what we've learned is that prompting is one of the most important things when using these tools. We have to give it exactly what we're asking for. And when it comes back, we have to double check because it has learned something. We have to make sure that it's learned the correct thing. Next slide, please. Here are some examples that we can use it in section M. Okay, so section M, of course, is going to tell us how the proposal is being scored. So this is your cheat sheet here, right? And so these examples, the prompts are targeting specifically to section M. Again, you will have your full RFP analyzed at that point, but then we're pulling from section M. So let's see here. We'll go an example on this one. Rewrite to emphasize strengths. Rewrite the past performance section to clearly demonstrate relevance and value according to section M, past performance, evaluation criteria, emphasizing quantifiable outcomes and customer satisfaction ratings. Okay, so again, you can see how detailed that prompt is. Rather than, giving it, break down section M for me. Tell me what it says in section M, okay? You're going to get a response back, but you really want the response to tell you what is your actual question, okay? Self-score before submission is one that I really like. Review this draft proposal against section M evaluation factors and assign a preliminary score for each criteria with notes of strength, weaknesses, and recommended improvements. Okay, so it is going to take what you've put together. Of course, you're going to redact any personal information that you do not want to feed into an AI if you're not working on a secured server or you have security concerns. But what that's going to do is that's going to feed back to you based on section M, how they would score you, okay? Again, it's going to be something that you want to review, but it's going to get the gears turning of, do I need to add something? Do I need to change something? All right, next slide, please. All right, we'll talk limitations, risks, and compliance. Okay, so right now, we know that the FAR is being rewritten, sections of it at least, and we will soon see a new FAR, FAR 2.0, whatever it is going to be called. So as of right now, there's not anything in FAR explicitly addressing generative AI. So what that means, though, is that there are going to be other FAR regulations that could apply, even though it's not specifically naming generative AI or AI in general. It could be safeguards, contractor responsibilities, proposal discussions, ethics codes, false statements, anywhere from maintaining accurate documentation, reliable, compliance, clarity, accuracy. You'll see some of those key words there. No false leading, misleading or fabricated information. Okay, so these are rules and regulations that currently exist that if you were to utilize an AI tool, you can't blame the AI tool, okay? So we will see more things to come in the FAR, but as of right now, there are existing FAR regulations that we do want to work around and make sure that we are staying compliant with while we use these tools. So to wrap that up, AI doesn't bypass compliance. There's still those rules. Accuracy is critical. Again, we're going to verify all AI-generated content, and ethics matter. Maintain transparency, integrity, and full documentation. As you are having these AI tools create things for you, they are things that you need to save and file. If you hard file, print and file, whatever it takes. Don't just assume because you've plugged it into AI once and now you've written it down or placed it somewhere else that that's going to consider full documentation. You want to have a paper trail for everything. Next slide, please. All right, and again, check your solicitation for AI-related information. There may be something that calls out AI specifically in your solicitation, and you want to stay current with regulatory shifts, new executive orders, OMB guidance, and FAR modernization. So what I have here is it's a release from the White House, and you're able to, this link here will take you to the White House page. It's a release on new policies of federal AI use and procurement. So the first memorandum that's listed there, it's accelerating federal use of AI through innovation, governance, and public trust. It basically talks about empowering leaders, streamlining oversight, and prioritizing U.S. tech. And the second memorandum there is driving efficient acquisition for artificial intelligence in government. That essentially is covering faster competitive procurement, reducing bureaucracy, and shared resources, somewhat like we stated that we expect that PIEE tool. It creates an online house of tools to assist agencies with AI procurement. Now, again, I wanted to put these in there because there are some sense of guidance right now with AI. But again, this is using AI as that broad term. It's not narrowing it down to generative AI specifically. So this is what we know from the government right now. However, it is going to be balls in your court to stay up to date on FAR modernization, any new guidance that comes from the White House, executive orders, or so on and so forth. Next slide, please. All right, and just to sum that up, there's no point-and-click tools. You are going to be able to find an all-inclusive tool for purchase if that's something that you choose, but there's still going to need to be some human oversight in this. So things to consider before you invest, consider your ROI on that. If you are looking for a tool, so are your competitors. Is a free tool better? Is a paid tool better? That's a question for you and your particular business. Ensure that your proposals remain individually grounded in your company's brand. Just like Paula touched on, we don't want choppy information. We want it to be clear and concise and sound like the same person has written it. And with that, we don't want it to sound too robotic, too AI. We want to humanize it, put our human spin on that. Again, we want to remember how it transmits your inputs, what server we're working on, how secure this information is that we're feeding into it. And of course, we'd never want to use proprietary or personal information when we're using these tools, especially if we're using them maybe on an open server or in a public setting. All right, and my next slide, please. And that will wrap that up.
Thank you, Jessie. So Jessica or Janine, are there any questions that you'd like to pose?
I haven't seen any come in through the chat and such. I know that Jessie, you have a hard stop on the top of the hour, but if Paula and Sarah can stay, if folks have questions, you're welcome to enter them into the chat or into the Q&A, and we'll take a look at them.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to drop off now, but I'm sure that Sarah and Paula can handle the rest from here. So thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Jessie.
Thanks. We do have one question from Dawn. It says, are there AI bid tools you can recommend?
Sarah, jump in anytime, but we have used Gemini. We've used Chat GPT. We're familiar with some of the ones that are the ones that are available without any costs. But we don't recommend any, this is so new. There are changes coming out every day that we're hearing about. SAMI is one of them, where they are, to a certain degree, you can use those, and they are designed for solicitations and proposals, how to look up your NAICS codes that best fits your profile that you can use these on. But they are limited on what they can do for you.
Yep, just jumping off of that a little bit from Paula, SAMI is a spinoff from the Gavology platform that Apex partners with to provide free training for our clients. It can be helpful in that it not only will answer your government contracting question, but it will refer you to a Gavology video or live webinar coming up that touches on the topics that you're asking about. So it can be helpful to at least steer you in the right direction or into another training resource for you.
Fantastic. All right, Jessica, I'll let you close us out today.
Well, thank you, Janine, and thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Thank you to Paula and Jesse and Sarah for their great contribution today. Just as a friendly reminder, we have the Scaling and Sustaining Success in Government Contracting next August 27th in same time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, okay? And make sure you go to our SCORE website and you can review this recording again or download some of the content in our library to help you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.